Hey guys, I don't have a script for this video. I'm just going to be reading through and answering some of these questions that I got asked a lot in the comments and on Discord, and I'll just be replying off the cuff. So we'll see how this goes. First question here, some civilization events happen at a specific time. What time will yours happen? So when it comes to what time of the day the event's going to take place, we kind of have a decision to make between the three main areas of players, that being Asia, North America, and Europe. And we can really only choose a time where two of those areas are going to be able to play, where it's not nighttime for them. And those areas that we're going to be choosing are Europe and North America. I'm so sorry, Asia. But that's where the main player base is, and that's where the main viewership of those videos were from. So it's probably going to be, if you're in North America, it's probably going to be sometime in the early afternoon. And if you're in Europe, it's probably going to be sometime in the evening. I do not have a specific time though yet. How will you filter through applicants? And in the same vein, what system will you be using for applications, and what are the requirements to join? So we do not have a system set up right now for applicants, but we will be filtering through them. It will not be kind of like first come, first serve. So we'll have some people throw in some applications, maybe some information, maybe, answering some questions like, are you going to record? Do you have any plans? All that stuff, just so we can get a good mix of role-playing players and PvP players and builders and people who want to farm. We just want a kind of good pull from the Minecraft community as a whole, which I think is important for the experiment aspect of it. How many players are you thinking about having in the experiment? We're thinking of starting with 300. Because we're having a kind of reproduction system where players can introduce new players into the simulation. We're thinking of kind of slowly increasing that player cap, especially if everybody doesn't just die off immediately. Then, if they're at that max player cap for a little bit, we can increase it just to make sure we don't overload the servers. We can increase it slowly. That's how we're going to have kind of like scaling, I guess, where civilizations or societies or groups of players, I guess, we can be non-descriptive. Groups of players who are doing well on the resource front can increase their numbers, increase their labor force, and kind of be rewarded for that. What are the plans for building? Will there be specific builders in a civilization, or can anyone build? Good question. It's all tied into the skill system right now. So that all depends on how we actually plan to implement that, like on a more concrete level. Will you punish misbehavior? I trust that general bad behavior. When it comes to how the staff and the organizers and all that stuff are going to interact during the event with the players, we're obviously going to be moderating for racism, sexism, of course, all that stuff. But when it, beyond that, when it comes to actually changing player behavior, we're going to try to stay as hands-off as possible. It's not set in stone right now how we're going to address things like RDMers or anything like that. There's kind of conflicting opinions right now that we need to kind of debate out and kind of choose the best system for how we want to run the experiment. But generally, we're going to try to stay as uninvolved as possible when it comes to the actual experiment, and kind of have players themselves address their own problems with their own solutions, because that's what we are there to analyze, is how are they addressing problems and making solutions together. Which version will the experiment take place? Maybe 1.21.4. That's the current version that Rue Events servers are on. That might change, but that's probably going to be, that's kind of the number we have for you right now. What made you switch from shooter/variety gaming content to these civilization events? I was bored. Those funny moments videos were honestly really just to share with my friends. I wasn't really worried about how they were doing YouTube-wise. I never really planned to be a YouTuber or anything like that. Just kind of shared them with my friends. I chose to swap because, well, a long time ago, I watched Magic Gum's video, and then I watched Ish's videos and all the other experiment videos kind of in the genre, and it kind of got me thinking about how to address some of the issues that they were dealing with, some of the fundamental issues, like how do you prevent people from killing everybody? And I was kind of unsatisfied with the way that those event hosters were addressing it, so I decided to just write a little critique, and I sent it to Magic Gum, and he thought it was pretty cool. He thought there were some problems with it, obviously. So we had a chat about that. very nice guy. And so, you know, one day I was laying on the couch and I was like, I'm bored. Like, I want to make a video. And I was like, well, I got the essay that I sent to Magic Gum. So I guess I'll just make that essay into a video. Like, it'll be really quick. It'll be really easy. I mean, it took like 20 minutes to make. And then, yeah, I did not expect you guys to do that with the video. So I guess going forward, I'm probably going to keep making Minecraft Civilization videos as we work on this project and get this all set up. I can't imagine going back to Valorant now. Maybe if I'm bored one day. But yeah, that's what made me switch. I was just kind of bored. 800,000 views, 6K subscribers. What happened to the internet? Great. Best question of them all, let me tell you. Subscribe, guys. No, really. If you are interested in this project, you want to see how it turns out, and you want to be there to apply when applications open to be a part of this, then definitely subscribe, because that's like the first place it's going to be posted. So what do you do with vintage story updates to run well with civilization events? Well, first I'll rise from my grave, and then I'll probably set up an event. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think that'll happen in a tight enough time frame where it will impact the road that we're on right now for like doing it in Minecraft. So even if they updated it like in 2 months, I feel like we're going to be far enough along our development cycle in Minecraft that we're still going to do it in Minecraft. Will your event be hosted in sections or on a server that people can join anytime? It'll be hosted in sections. We're going to do an event style where it'll be open for a couple hours, 1 day a week, for 6 total sessions right now is the number we're working with. And then if people really want it to go on, and if the boys over at Rue Events are okay with it, then we can make it a more long-term project, a more like reoccurring event, I should say. What will the world be like in your experiment? Will there be some islands or some other gimmick? We're gonna try right now. The way that I personally am imagining it is like a large continent map with some islands around the continent, but other than that, just surrounded by water. We're not gonna artificially keep players apart until like, you know, day 4 we lowered the walls and they all went to the middle to fight or anything like that. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna try to keep the terrain pretty much the same all throughout. We're not gonna add anything. We're just gonna let players kind of do their magic on the terrain, I guess. Will there be a predetermined location, or will it be randomly generated? We're going to make a custom map right now is the plan. All of this can change, but right now we're going to make a custom map because we want to be able to finally control where resources are, where fertile land is, where the woods are, where all that stuff is. We want control over that so that we can localize resources and have them in specific locations. Would you consider pairing the skill system with a random health mechanic? For example, on start, players are assigned hearts from 2 to 12 with the ability to gain 2 additional hearts via skill points. This is a really, really cool idea. But I don't think we will. I think we're going to try to stay away from kind of like randomly assigning players different things on spawn, just because I feel like it can be a little unfair to players who are excited to play in the event and then they just get immediately debuffed compared to other people. So we're going to, even though that is like realistic, we're not really striving for absolute realism. We're just striving to implement the gameplay loop where players are incentivized to cooperate, because in vanilla Minecraft, they're not incentivized at all. Will the event be exclusive to Java? Yes. We're not cross-platforming Bedrock. It's just going to be Java, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. How are you limiting food supplies? We are limiting food supplies by increasing essentially the labor cost into like growing food, into acquiring food. We're going to make passive mobs like cows and pigs and sheep and stuff like that. We're going to make them defend themselves. They'll actually fight back. We're going to add mechanics like you have to water crops. So you can't just like sit back and watch them grow. You have to like take care of them and water them. Fertile land is going to be a limited resource. You can't just farm anywhere and have it be efficient. You know, you might be able to plant some crops, but it's going to be like a 10% growth modifier if you plant them in the desert or the tundra or wherever. So that's how we're planning on limiting food supplies without just increasing the cost to making food, essentially. Like without just increasing the crafting recipe, I guess. Did you go to college for this? No. I did not. I did 1 semester in college and I decided it wasn't for me. And that was it. Are you formally educated in any philosophy or social science? Nope. This is just my hobby. I really like studying philosophy and political science and social science and sociology and anthropology and all that stuff. Basically, the humanities. It's always been a passion. So I guess it's just leaking over into Minecraft now. How strict would the rules be? The rules would be as unstrict as we could possibly get them. Besides, like I said, the basic stuff like moderating for sexism, racism, and all that stuff to keep it like a fun place to play in, a fun community. Ideally, there would be no rules. Will it be in hardcore? Yes. We were originally thinking maybe a 2-life system, but with the amount of people that are like chomping at the bit to be a part of this experiment, I don't think we'll have to do a 2-life. I think we can do a 1-life per person, and then new players can replace the dead players. So even though there's a lot of people who really want to be a part of this, there's a pretty good chance that you will be a part of it if you sign up. When we open that's in the later questions. There'll be a pretty good chance, because when players get slain, or when players, succumb to natural causes, or run into a group of hostile players, somebody will have like a waiting queue of players who are ready to get spawned in when players meet the reproduction requirements. On to that next question. Have you reconsidered reproduction? Well, I haven't really reconsidered it, but we're still doing it. So basically, we're going to tie the ability to increase the amount of players in the world to actions that the players already in the world are taking. So we're thinking right now, like a basic way to implement this would just be to have a food cost. Like you need a certain amount of food, and then you kind of trade that for a player that gets spawned on you. And obviously there's no guarantee that they would like join you, but there is a pretty good chance, since obviously if they try to run off on their own with the mechanics that we're thinking of implementing, they'll probably just starve within the day. So they'll probably work together with you. It'll be a good way to incentivize groups of players who are already doing well to basically to do better, to increase their labor pool, to increase their populations without just like convincing people around them to come join them. Will the server be EU or US focused? It'll be US based. It's hosted in the US. But like I said, when the events are going to be up, that's going to be aligned to allow for both US and EU players. Will the players be informed that their names will be changed or replaced when posted in videos as to not bias their actions for attention for views? That's such a good suggestion. But I'm worried that taking away their names will take away their recognizability for like communities, because then it would be just down to their skins, if we like hide their names or like replace their names. Oh, replace when posted in the videos. Yeah, I feel like that still wouldn't stop people, because they could just be like, oh, that's me from that video. But that is a good idea to stop people from kind of attention seeking. But I think the biggest thing that we're doing to stop players from attention seeking is that the video that I'm going to make about the whole experiment is not going to be a narrative video. Like, you won't get attention or views if you try to make a name for yourself, because I'm not going to be looking at that stuff. I'm going to be looking at the social structures that form. I'm going to be looking at how players cooperate and what challenges they face and how they overcame those challenges. So I'm not really worried about like the individual people, at least in my video. That's all down to the players themselves. The players themselves, my hope is that they're going to be recording and making their own stories and then making their own videos where they get to do some storytelling. And so we're actually looking to invite a lot of smaller YouTubers to kind of give them the chance to make really cool content for their channel and tell their own stories. Because I just feel like it's so boring when players kind of have their own story going on in this huge experiment where there's a ton of people, and then all of a sudden they have to get called in, to like a big war or something that's part of a story that the event planners were trying to set up, and they just feel disconnected from that. Are those Solus shaders? Tell me what shaders are they? It's Bliss, guys. Okay, I've gotten so many questions in the comments about the shaders. It's Bliss shaders. It's nothing crazy. I love Bliss. I always play with Bliss shaders. They're just so cool. They're so clean. Love the idea, but aren't you inadvertently making predetermined roles through this type of system? He's talking about the skill system here, because you still have to define what skills players can level up. So true. So true. That's something we have to really be careful about. Because if we make too few roles, or too few skill categories, I guess you could say, then we're definitely just You know, there's no give or take. You know, it's like, well, I'm a builder, so I'm going to max out the building role or the building skill, or I'm a miner, so I'm going to max out the mining role. So we do have to be careful about how, like, that's why in the video I kind of showed that they were examples, because I don't know if that's even the categories I want to go with. And those categories might even change based on how we change the gameplay loops. If we add things like smithing, if we add things like, carpentry, then those are probably skills that we're going to have that are separate from just crafting, you know? The way that we're trying to increase how long the progression takes while not making it just super boring grindy is we're going to be just basically adding content. We're adding things like bronze between stone and iron right now is a big thing we're talking about. We're thinking about adding something maybe between iron and diamond, like a replacement for gold that's like better. Talking about tweaking how diamond even works in the first place. So that's how we're going to be increasing the grindiness of the game without making it just a slog. You know, we're still making it interesting for you guys to play in and to make stories about. I guess my question is, how would any sort of traveling lifestyle work in the experiment? Like if you had traveling merchants, guilds, or nomadic tribes or something. So such a good question, because that's a question I want to answer too. I don't know. That's something we just have to answer when we do the experiment. But I guess we can theorize. For example, I think that a traveling lifestyle would work as a merchant. That would be really, really cool to be traveling place to place and be able to sell the resources in like a different town, because the way that we're going to be setting up resources is they're going to be kind of very localized. They're going to be kind of everywhere a little bit, but a lot in one place or two places. And so that makes trade actually possible compared to other civilization experiments, because I mean, like, in Minecraft, everything's everywhere. Like there's very few things that you could trade on a large scale, because like if you need wood, you just plant a sapling and it grows in 3 minutes. If you need food, you just plant hay and it grows in 3 minutes. Or you just bring some cows out from the woods, because pigs and sheep and cows spawn every like 1,000 blocks. You know, you don't have to go far. But by limiting those resources to certain areas, I do think a kind of merchant playstyle is going to be actually possible. So very good question. I'm excited to see how it actually like looks, how it actually plays out. What's your take on the fact that people will come to the server with the goal to form a civilization or to roleplay or to destroy it? Do you see this as something negative, muddying the waters on how natural these possible emergent civilizations are? Do you think it's something good in the sense that it will speed up the process? I think it's both. I think it'll both muddy the waters, because people are going to bring all these ideas from real life obviously into it. But I also think it's good in that people already kind of have like the goal, the ideal in mind, you know? They know, well, hopefully they know how people work together in real life, and so they are going to use that experience to speed up the process and to make sure and to make it so we don't have to wait another like 2 million years like it took in real life, you know? And then right below it, he says, is the intention for it to be vetted and whitelisted with applications? Yes. It's not going to be open to just anybody, just because we want to get basically a good poll of different players with different play styles, with different goals, just so that we don't have one group of players dominating it. Like if we leave it up to just like random chance, and then we accidentally get like over half of the players are like, I want to ruin this event, then the event's gonna get ruined. It doesn't really matter, you know? But obviously, you know, we want some of those people, because some of those people provide another kind of environmental threat to the rest of the players to get organized and to defend themselves and to, you know, arm themselves and stuff like that to protect their communities. Other than that, I mean, those were pretty much all the common questions that I got. So now I can point people to this video. I've succeeded when they have those burning questions. So I'll see you guys in the next video.